So how do you decide if you're gonna sit back there or at the table?
Just move up.
It's up to you. That looks like it's uncomfortable. Greg is
Yes.
Is he-
It's gonna be remotely.
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 You know if Cisco's gonna be up there?
I don't.
Hey Tiffany, can you hear us?
Yes, Governor, we can.
Do you know where the secretary's gonna be? Aguilar? Is he gonna be here or up there?
I believe he's on the phone.
And General Ford too?
General Ford's trying to call in right now. He got miscalendared what the calling information is. I'm gonna send it to him right now.
Yeah. Get started. Any word on the Secretary Aguilar yet?
Not currently right now.
Great, I don't have. Hey Craig, I don't have my phone with me. Do you have those numbers?
Don't, I'll text Gabriel, try to just show them.
Oh wait, somebody just came on.
That would be before, I believe.
Hi, it's Aaron Ford.
All right, copy. General, we're trying to locate the Secretary of State. We'll get started here in just a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Governor, we're still waiting for the secretary.
Okay, we're trying to reach out to him now. There we go. Cisco, is that you that came on?
Yes, sir. It's me.
Okay, you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
All right. Going then. Kick off the State of Nevada Board of Examiners meeting scheduled for today, March 11th, 2025, time being 10 a.m. And we'll kick it off with the roll call. Ms. Greenemeyer.
Governor Lombardo,
Present.
Attorney General Ford,
Here.
Secretary Aguilar.
Here.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 2, the first opportunity for public comment. The first public comment period is limited to comments on items on the agenda. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an action item. I will impose a 3-minute time limit. If you are attempting to call in, please call number 775-321-6111. And we will move to public comment. Do we have anybody there in Carson City?
Yes, we do, sir.
Hello. My name is Josh Martinez. I represent the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We just wanted to publicly comment on one of the agenda items. It's going to be agenda item number 8. It's going to be involving the approval of proposed contracts in reference to item number 1, which is going to be the victim notification services. So we just wanted to put on the record that we weren't involved with the evaluation of the bidding process, and we've been a long-term users of the victim service notification, and we roughly contribute between $46,000 and $50,000 to the process for that notification system, and that the current notification system provides us greater reach to other jurisdictions to make sure that the victims are receiving a proper notification. Thank you for your time.
And good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Walker. I work for the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. I echo the comments of Captain Martinez. We would like to be a participant in the thought process with this. And I've been at that agency for 20 years, and those forms have always been the Vine forms. I'd like to have a chance to get it back to that.
Your
My
microphone.
apologies.
There you go.
Good morning, honorable members of the Board of Examiners. My name is Nathan Branscombe, Senior Director of Victim Services Suite for Sylogist Gov, speaking on agenda item 8, contract number 1. I want to thank you first. It's a great pleasure to be here this morning. I actually started my public service career in Washoe County 20 years ago and worked with Washoe County Sheriff's Office for a while on a number of projects, and it's a real pleasure to be back. I'd like to thank the state of Nevada for the opportunity to provide our excellent victim notification services to citizens and to law enforcement and to, most importantly, the crime victims in the community. We are at the Western Sheriff's Conference this week and would love to invite any law enforcement partners who'd like to come by and speak with us to answer any questions and concerns. We're happy to join the Attorney General's office in that process. We believe that we're offering a absolutely excellent service for the state, and we can solve any concerns that may be out there. Thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and we're honored to serve.
Governor, there's no one else for public comment in Carson City?
All right, anybody here in Las Vegas wishing to speak during public comment? All right, seeing none, do you have anybody on the phone?
Nathan.
All right, we'll close the first opportunity for public comment. Move on to agenda item number 3, approval of the February 11th, 2025 meeting minutes for possible action. Do we have any concerns or comments by any board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to Move approval. approve, Cisco.
We'll have, a motion will be made by Secretary Aguilar for the record. And all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any against? Hearing none, motion passes. We will move on to item number 4, state vehicle purchases for possible action. Ms. Grenmeyer, can you provide those all together as one item?
Yes, there are 4 requests under this agenda item. The first request is from the Department of Agriculture. The department requests approval to purchase 2 replacement vehicles for a total amount not to exceed $87,351. The second request is from the Department of Employment and Training and Rehabilitation to replace 1 vehicle for a total amount not to exceed $29,904. The next request is from the Department of Public Safety Investigation Division to replace 1 vehicle for a total amount not to exceed $29,426. The last request is from the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Division of Water Resources. The division requests approval to purchase 2 replacement vehicles. I would note the requested amount has been revised down from $98,527 to a total amount not to exceed $90,047. Are there any questions on these items?
Do we have any questions?
No
Hearing
questions.
none.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any
By the way,
against,
it was
nay?
Cisco that made the motion.
I'm sorry, Cisco, what'd you say?
I'm just clarifying that I made the motion. So it's on the
Okay.
record. Sorry.
Absolutely. Not hearing any nay, motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 5, authorization to contract with a current and/or former state employee for possible action. Ms. Greenemeyer, can you take them all together, please?
Yes. There are 3 requests under this agenda item. The first request is from the Department of Business and Industry, Office of Labor Commissioner, pursuant to NRS 333.705. Subsection 1, the department requests authority to contract with former employee Lupita Martinez to assist with apprenticeship compliance work through this statewide contract with Manpower. The second request is from the Department of Transportation pursuant to NRS 333.705, subsection 1. Department requests authority to contract with former employee Darren Tedford to provide consulting services with Atkinson Realist USA Incorporated. The last request is from the Department of Transportation pursuant to NRS 333.705, subsection 1. Department requests authority to contract with former employee Jeff LaRue to provide consulting services with Avenue Consultants Incorporated. Are there any questions on these items?
Do we have any questions?
No questions. Motion to approve. Cisco.
Secretary Aguilar, could you say 5, A, B, and C on that motion?
Oh, yeah. Motion to approve item number 5, A, B, and C.
All right, we have a motion for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I can hear all 3 voices, Craig, so I don't need to ask for it.
I think you're good.
Thanks. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, request for the allocation and disbursement of funds for salary adjustments for possible action. And once again, Ms. Greenemeyer, can you take those together?
Yes, sir. There are 4 requests under this agenda item. The 2023 legislature, through Assembly Bill 522, made appropriations from the general fund and the highway fund to the Board of Examiners to meet salary deficiencies that may be created between the appropriated money of the state's respective departments, commissions, and agencies, and the salary requirements for the personnel of those departments, commissions, and agencies. The Board of Examiners, upon recommendation of the Director of the Governor's Finance Office, may allocate and disperse amounts from the appropriated fund to the departments and commissions and agencies to the state for the purpose of paying personnel salary deficiencies. The first request is from the Department of Administration Hearing Division in the amount of $864,115 for salary increases. The second request is from the Gaming Control Board in the amount of $7,050,000 $55,080 for salary increases. The next request is from the Department of Administration Hearing Division in the amount of $29,204 for the plan to encourage continuity of service. The last request is from the Gaming Control Board in the amount of $158,420 for the plan to encourage continuity of service. Are there any questions on these items?
Any questions?
No questions. Motion to approve.
Can you make that motion inclusive of A, B, C,
Yes.
and D?
Yes, motion to approve item number 6A, B, C, and D.
All right, we have a motion for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We will move on to agenda item number 7, approval of proposed leases for possible action. Ms. Greenemar.
There are 6 leases under this agenda item for approval by the board. Are there any questions on these items?
Any questions? Hearing
No
none. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve leases 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Cisco.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 8, approval of proposed contracts for possible action.
There are 33 contracts under this agenda item for approval by the board. Are there any questions on these items?
I do. On contract number 1, I guess it's just going back to the questions of public comment. Can I get a little bit of understanding what what is happening or what their concern is or the request is?
Aaron Ford for the record. Mr. Governor, I believe I have my chief of staff and my chief financial officer in the room there. They can come up and testify to the process that follows the procurement procedures for the state, if you like.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Attorney General Ford. Thank you, members of Board of Examiners, Teresa Benitez Thompson, Chief of Staff to Attorney General Ford. So if I heard the comments correctly from public comment, we had 2 members of our partners in law enforcement come forward to ask about being involved in the process. Just so that it is noted, is we did have a member from Las Vegas Metro who was invited and on the approved panel for review, ultimately wasn't able to participate, but we did reach out through our law enforcement partners for participation in this process. This process is led and overseen by the Committee on Domestic Violence. And so we also, through a previous meeting at the Committee on Domestic Violence, asked for partners from there, which we have law and agency partners there. Most important would be, though, with the notice of intent to award, the actual work with our partners, our community partners, and our law enforcement partners will begin once we get this. And so this is a crucial step to making sure that we're talking about planning, we're setting up trainings, we're doing all the integration that's needed on the data level. That all will start post haste with this approval.
Did that answer your question, Secretary?
So I guess they did have an opportunity to participate. My question just is, and it goes back to everything that I kind of go back to, is in government, sometimes I think we try to solve our problems internally without engaging the end users. And I thought I heard them say they weren't engaged, but you're telling me that they were invited to participate, but they chose not to participate. Is that correct?
I think, to be clear, I would phrase it a little bit differently. I wouldn't say that they chose not to participate. I would say that we did have an invited member specifically from law enforcement. We had other members on the approval committee who represented other users as well. For example, the Department of Corrections. So we had a committee that we believe met the requirements for the purchasing process, and ultimately we did not have someone from Metro on the committee, but they were invited.
who's the biggest user of the system? Is it community groups or law enforcement?
So specifically, this is a victim notification. This is a victim notification product. It is intended to be a service and support to notify victims of the status of offenders. And so that's why the primary jurisdiction for oversight of this is the Committee on Domestic Violence. So it really is victim-led. We have our partners across the state who feed in information into that system, but it's victim-led. And we are glad to know that law enforcement uses the victim notification system for different reasons, and they will be part of the planning process going forward, as well as training on the new system as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I have, for the record, Governor Lombardo, I have a question on, I got two different books. So one of them says contract 11, the other one contract 12, but it's under health management systems, contract number 24150. Is there somebody there to speak to this item, Ms. Greenemeyer?
Yes, sir, there is. They're at the table.
All right, my question, I don't know who's at the table, but you'll identify yourself, please. My question is, there's an $11 million increase, and the justification was cost avoidance, re-verification, and monthly policy redeterminations. If that's the case, and that's a normal practice, why the $11 million increase need? Can you help me understand that?
Absolutely. Good morning, members of the board. This is Jennifer Krupp. I am the Deputy Administrator of Fiscal Services at the Division of Healthcare Financing and Policy, also known as Nevada Medicaid. We're here today to discuss the Second Amendment to the original contract for health management systems, which does provide audit and recovery of Medicaid payments. This amendment does extend the termination date from April 30th of 2025 to April 30th of 2027, and does increase the maximum amount of the contract from $16,532,000 to $27,522,000 to $27,522,000. The extension of the HMA contract from May 1st of 2025 to April 30th of 2027 includes $738,000 in contract authority to continue existing services in state fiscal year 25, and then $5,125,000 in each of state fiscal year 26 and 27 to continue the existing contract services, which is a total of $10,990,000. Most of the increase is due to the continuation of existing services. However, in state fiscal year 26 and in 27, $500,000 in each year was added for the cost avoidance re-verification services.
Okay, Jennifer, I'll ask the question again. Why the increase if it's already built in the contract? Why is there a change in the Medicaid or the number of people that are receiving Medicaid that requires us to have an increase on re-verification?
Most of the contract services are just the base costs being extended out the additional 2 years. Apologies, Jennifer Krupp for the record. So the base contract costs to extend the contract for the 2 years are what are being extended. The cost re-verification services are the new service that's being added. So.
But we didn't have that service previously?
That's a new service.
Okay, that makes it, explains it well. Thank you. Appreciate your time. All right, do we have any other questions from any board members on the contracts? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve contracts. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Motion to
General
approve
Ford. General Ford, can you make the motion?
Yes, motion to approve contracts 1 through 33. In agenda item number
Motion.
8.
I'm sorry.
In agenda item number 8, motion to approve items, contracts 1 through 33.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 9, approval of proposed master service agreements for possible action. Ms. Greenmeyer.
There is one master service agreement under this agenda item for approval by the board. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
No questions. Motion to approve. Master Service Agreement 1.
All right, we have a motion for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We move on to agenda item number 10, information item clerk of the board contracts.
There are 40 contracts within the threshold of $10,000 to $99,999 that were approved by the clerk of the board. I'll note a correction to the agenda that these contracts were approved from the period of January 15th, 2025 through February 14th, 2025. This item is informational. Are there any questions on these items?
Do we have any questions on any one of the contracts? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 11, information item reports. Ms. Greenham. Before you proceed, let's take them separately, A, B, and C separately.
Yes, sir. There are 3 informational reports under this agenda item. The first report is from the Governor's Finance Office, Budget Division, pursuant to NRS Chapter 353. The division represents a reconciled fund balance report of the following accounts. The approximate balance for the following accounts are as follow. Tort Claim Fund, $2.5 million. Statutory Contingency Account, $1.1 million. Stale Claims Account, $1.1 million. Emergency Account is $500,000. Disaster Relief Account is $13.7 million. IFC a Contingency Unrestricted General Fund is $12.2 million. IFC Contingency Unrestricted Highway Fund is $1.6 million. IFC Contingency Restricted General Fund is $114.2 million. And IFC Contingency Restricted Highway Fund is $18.8 million. And Extradition Coordinator Budget Account 1002 is approximately $84,000. This item is informational. Are there any questions on this report?
Yeah, for the record, Governor Lombardo, Ms. Greenmeyer, under the disaster relief account, 13.7 million. So I'm hearing through some of my budget meetings that the Davis Fire response has risen to a $27 million price tag. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware that the fire suppression is needing additional dollars, yes. And for them to receive additional dollars, we're going to have to get a supplemental for them.
Right, so we're prepared to do that, and we have the ability to do that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions on agenda item number 11A?
No
All
questions,
right,
Governor.
we'll move to 11B. Ms. Greenmeyer.
The next report from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Division of State Lands, pursuant to NRS 321.5954, subsection 4, the State Land Register is required to provide the Board of Examiners quarterly reports regarding lands or interests in lands transferred, sold, exchanged, or leased under the Tahoe Basin Act program. This report covers the period of October 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. This item is informational. Are there any questions on this report?
Do we have any questions?
No question. Thank you.
All right, no questions. We'll move on to 11C. Ms. Grennemeyer.
This report, this last report, the statewide quarterly overtime report pursuant to NRS 284.180, the Department of Administration, Division of Human Resource Management must prepare and submit quarterly to the Budget Division of the Office of Finance a report regarding all overtime worked by the employees of the Executive Department during the quarter. This report covers the period of October 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. This item is informational. Are there any questions on this report?
Yes, for the record, Governor Lombardo, is there anybody there in Carson City from the Department of Corrections?
We're down here, sir.
Yes, sir.
Williams.
Okay. Were you made aware that I would probably ask a question about your overtime budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So specifically, I'm looking at, do you have the document in front of you? Okay. If you go to page 3,
I'm there.
you see the bar graphs there? It
Yes.
says the Department of Corrections vacancy rates has gone from May of 23 to 34% to second quarter of 25 to 18%.
Yes.
Okay. And then you go down to the following 2 graphs, and it shows a pretty steady line on overtime. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And comp time. And then the overtime has actually significantly increased from fourth quarter 24 to second quarter 25. But yet the staffing levels vacancies have decreased.
Okay.
So why is overtime increasing, yet staffing the vacancies are decreasing?
For the record, Brian Williams, Senior Deputy Director of Operations for the Nevada Department of Corrections. There's several reasons, Governor. The first has to do with our hiring process. As of today, NDOC has 86 cadets. We go through a 10-week academy. So these cadets hired 3 to 4 months prior to the actual start of the academy. And since they are not officers, they can't be utilized in our facility. So we call them FAMs. So we have them do other administrative duties. And I kind of want to give the history, go back just a little bit. When corrections was having problems trying to fill positions, we created the FAMs so we would hire them so that they wouldn't sit for 3 to 4 months until they started the academy and hire on somewhere else. So we brought them on as quickly as possible, and that way we could retain more of them. Over the time, and as our recruiting efforts has increased with a significant increase to 11% for all state employees, plus the 3 or 4% for our FOP union members that are officers, we've had a steady increase of officers. And that's why we have 86 in the academy. It's probably one of the largest academies that we've had. So you couple those numbers with those staff who aren't able to fill a post. So because until they become officers, then that overtime for them not being in that post. So when you start looking at the numbers, you look at 40 hours per pay week, the COT's regular pay, and then another 40 hours of overtime to cover that post at the facility. So if you multiply that 40 times 4 weeks for COTs at the academy, you come with 160 hours of minimum per month overtime. Multiply that times the 86 COTs that aren't available to us at 160, you come up with 13,760 hours of overtime per month, or 82,560 hours of overtime over the 6 months until graduation. You take that 82,560 hours times the $66.18 average hourly overtime rate, you come up with $5,463,820 overtime unbudgeted per academy. And the crux of this right here, we don't have a relief factor for those that's in our academy. Although they take up that vacant PCN, it looks like all our positions are filled. Those officers aren't available to us for at least 3 to 4 months. And then you go through the 10-week academy before they're available, which increases overtime. I would also like to share another reason for the high rate of overtime is the average number of medical appointments. If I just pick a facility, I'll take Southern Desert, for example. In 2023, they had 446 medical appointments. In 2024, they had 573 medical appointments for an average of 127 increase between those 2 years. Average number of officers per day in the hospital. They averaged 1854 in 2023. In 2024, they averaged 3,518 for plus 4.5 officers. We're not budgeted for that either. And if you look at some of the positions, because several years ago, we asked for hospital coverage positions as well. High Desert received 5, Northern Nevada received 7, Southern Desert received 3, and Florence McClure received 6. Now, these positions cover all 3 shifts. So if I have an inmate in the hospital and I need 5 officers, I mean 2 officers to cover them, that's times 3. We were legislatively approved for these positions that they gave us. However, the average daily need was High Desert, for example, 27.5 officer positions for all 3 shifts. They only received 5 legislatively. That was approved. Northern Nevada Correctional Center, 19 officers average. They only received 7 positions. Southern Desert Correctional Center.
Those numbers you're professing there, what position is that for the medical transport?
That's for hospital coverage right now, Mom. I can do that.
So it's not transport, it's to sit at the hospital.
To sit at the hospital and watch the offenders.
Okay.
So when you start looking at that, we're approved for 21 officers, but yet out of the 4 facilities, 66.7 officers used for this position calls on average every day. So you take those 21 legislatively approved positions, and now we have 45 that's not approved, not legislatively approved, that counts towards our overtime as well. So there's significant things that we've done over the years. If we go all the way back to 2009, when we had to create AR 326 posting of shifts and overtime, which reduces our minimum staffing. But yet we're legislatively approved for this staffing, but we had to reduce it to a minimum staffing in order to reduce our overtime. Part of that was because of the recession back in 2009, 2010. And then you fast forward to COVID, which we were hit hard with staffing. We reduced our minimum staffing again. Now that we're getting staff, we're trying to increase our minimum staffing because why? We got more cell phones in our facilities. We have more drugs in our facilities. We have more contraband coming into our facilities and being created in our facilities than we've ever had before. And we can't even.
Hold on. So why are you having more contraband?
Because we have fewer officers to supervise those areas. For example, our mailroom, that's one area.
But your staffing went down to 18% vacancy. So you have more officers. So why would the contraband increase?
We still, although we have the positions, Governor, they're not available to us just.
All this narrative boils down to they're not available yet.
Not available to us, but also non-legislatively approved positions that we don't have, that we have to staff whenever we transport an inmate.
No, I understand all that, but that isn't nothing new to your budget. My question still boils down to is you have less vacancies, but you have higher overtime. And your reasoning behind that is because people are in training.
Training academy.
And so with that in mind, in that statement, when is the overtime going to start going down? When they graduate?
I have one more piece, sir.
Okay.
And the other piece is our minimum staffing, AR 326. As our staffing improved, we increased our minimum staffing. And that's why I went to the security functions that operate our facilities. We increased our minimum staffing so we could do more shakedowns, that we can do more mail surveillance, and we can do more of our basic fundamental security functions. So as our staffing went up, we increased our minimum staffing. You're talking all the way back to 2009, we're operating at bare bone, but our population was also going down. We did have a slight increase. We went from just under 10,000 offenders up to 10,006 and now it's coming down again a little bit, but there was an increase. And
Okay.
with the criminal enterprise of different offenders inside our facility, we had to increase our staffing. And we've had more incidents as well, stabbings, homicides, the drugs, the cell phones entering our facilities. And so the wardens, they would contact me, hey, can we increase our minimum staff? So it's not just the training academy, it's not just the hospital coverage and the transport, it's just us increasing our minimum staffing to the numbers that it's supposed to be, and we're legislatively approved to have.
Okay, the last question I'll have for you then is, how come you don't have a dedicated academy staff?
I wasn't here from the beginning, but they gave us academy staff, which I think is 12 staff for the entire state. And so that's not enough to do our academy. So what we do is we borrow officers from the facility that's subject matter experts who've been trained to come and teach our classes. So that pulls from our facility as well, and we have to fill that post with someone.
So you have academy in more than one location?
Yes, we have 3 different locations. We have north, south, and rural areas.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That was good. Do we have any other questions?
No questions.
I'm sorry, Cisco, I didn't hear you.
No questions. Thank you.
General
None
Ford,
either.
did you- Okay, I got that. All right, Mr. Williams, just wait after we conclude, I'm going to talk to you about something else. All right.
Okay, sir.
Well, we'll close agenda item number 11 if there are no more questions, and we'll go to the second opportunity for public comment under item number 12. Is there any public comment there in Carson City?
No, sir, there's not.
Is there any here in Las Vegas? Nobody on the phone? Okay, we'll close the second opportunity for public comment, and I'll make a motion for adjournment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you.